Welcome to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Devotions designed to inspire you on your daily walk with God. Here's your host, Ken Gurley.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Devotion. What a great title. Don't want to leave anybody behind. Don't want to leave anybody behind in this year. We want to make sure that we pick everyone up, bind everyone's wounds, and let's march forward into a new year. Thank you for being a part of this today. You're the ones that make it special. You're the ones that make it. We have something to share one with another. This Thursday, December 17, 2020. My thought today, leaving no one behind in 2020. It came to me last night. I just couldn't get away from it. So thank you for being a part of this. Patty and Hope and Kirk and Brenda and Karen and Tammy, Sandra. Thank you. Thank you. And I hope you are doing well. An update on us. We continue to mend. It's like 3 steps forward, then you backslide a half step. But we're getting better. Thank you for your kindnesses to us. All your notes, your prayers, gaining more strength each day. We're feeling like this dark season is drawing to a close. Thank you for caring. Thank you for encouraging. Yesterday, someone went over and beyond, a breath of fresh air. You know who you are. And you made our day. So thank you so very much for that. So you know the drill. You got to follow the page, like the page, share the page. I guess just do something with the page. Yeah, they tell me to say that. So I'm faithful in saying that. Here we are 2 weeks from the year's end. 2 weeks. Soon 2020 will be in the history books. I know that's not soon enough. For better or worse, we're going to leave this year behind. I think it's incumbent upon us, though. We don't need to leave anyone behind in 2020. We need to bring them with us. The next 2 weeks, we need to be mindful because this year has had a lot of casualties. I may be speaking to some right now. The numbers we can't even fathom. People losing out with God, people checking out on God, people giving up, people feeling overwhelmed, people just saying, I can't cope with this. I think it's good that we make it through, but I think it's best that we bring someone else with us. Can I get a witness to that? Leah, Beverly, amen. You remember the old story. Once a man got lost in the desert, the water in his flask had run out 2 days prior. He was on his last legs. He knew that if he didn't get some water soon, he was going to surely die. The man saw a small hut ahead of him. He thought it would be a mirage or maybe a hallucination, but having no other option, he moved toward it. And as the man got closer, he realized this thing's quite real. So as he dragged his tired body to the door with the last of his strength, the hut was not occupied. At least it had looked occupied for a while. It looked like it had been abandoned for quite some time. But the man, when he entered it, hoped against hope that he might just find some water inside. His heart skipped a beat when he saw what was in the hut. It was a hand pump for water. It had a pipe going down through the floor, perhaps tapping a source of water deep underground. He began working the hand pump, but no water came out, and he kept at it until nothing happened. Finally, he gave up from exhaustion and frustration. And about that time, his eyes fell. His eyes fell on a corner of a room, and it looked like a bucket, a jug. What was it? So he gradually got the courage, dragged himself over, and there was a bottle. It was a bottle in a corner of the hut. It was filled with water, corked up to prevent evaporation. He uncorked the bottle and was about to drink the sweet, life-giving water when he noticed that there was a piece of paper attached to the bottle. And handwriting on the paper read, "Use this water to prime the pump. And don't forget to fill the bottle when you're done." Oh boy, he had a dilemma. Yes, he had a moral dilemma. He could follow the instruction, pour the water into the pump, or he could just ignore it and drink the water. What could he do? What should he do? If he let the water go down the pump, what guarantee did he have that it would even work? And that water would come back up? What if the pump malfunctioned? What if the pump hadn't worked in a long, long time? What was he going to do? What if the pipe had a leak? I don't know. What if that underground reservoir had long since dried up? He was really in a dilemma and he was so thirsty. But then he thought, well, maybe the instruction is correct. And so he just decided, I'm going to try it. He took the water and he began to pour it down into the well. Hands trembling, he said a prayer and he watched as the last of the water disappeared. And then he began to pump for all he was worth. It was a few moments later he heard a gurgling sound. Then water came gushing out, more than he could possibly imagine or ever use. He luxuriated in that cool and refreshing stream. He knew he was going to live. And after drinking, he felt very, very happy and wonderful. But then he looked around the hut. He found a pencil and a map of the region, and he began to do a little of his own work. The map showed that he was still a long way away from civilization. But now, at least he knew where he was at, and he knew which direction he should go. So he filled his flask for the journey ahead, knowing full well where he was headed. But he also filled the bottle with water, put the cork back in, and before leaving, he added a little note of his own to the writing below the instruction. Believe me, it works. Yeah, there's something about it. It does work. Don't just make it through this desert by yourself. Leave something for somebody coming after you. There are a lot of struggling people. You know what we know about the Apostle Paul comes largely through the book of Acts. Some statements in each of his epistles, but probably none so rich a letter filled with personal details as 2 Corinthians. This is Paul according to Paul. One of the opening verses of the chapter explains Paul having to endure as much suffering as he did. It wasn't just because of his past that he was a blasphemer before. It wasn't just because he had been instrumental in seeing many people die. No, that wasn't it at all. Paul found God's comfort in his sufferings. Paul learned to rejoice whether he was exalted or abased. And the comfort he found and the strength he found, well, in 2 Corinthians, he says it like this: He comforts us whenever we suffer. That is why whenever other people suffer, we're able to comfort them by using the same comfort we received from God. Whatever comfort, whatever consolation you can offer to someone, whatever word of encouragement, whatever help, people are struggling right now. The reason so many people are inept at comforting people is that they've not been through enough themselves. They've not suffered enough. They're not hurt and anguished and moaned and groaned. In 2020, it's been a year of groaning. Now there may be some Pollyanna running around across the fields of daffodils saying, no, 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 this has been a beautiful year. Everything has just gone peachy. We've been blessed and highly favored. Well, I've not seen too many people like that. Anyone saying or thinking that, I don't think they do this anymore, probably deserves a straitjacket, but most people will say of this year, it's been brutal. It's been a brutal year. It's been a hard year. It's been a challenge. And we know the challenges are not over, which is the changing of a day from 2020 to 2021. But emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I believe there's a time that we've got to just circle back and say, okay, let's make sure we didn't leave anybody behind. Let's go to that battlefield analogy. This isn't a playground, it's a battlefield. We are We who are born again are in God's armies. And Paul told Timothy in his last letter, endure difficulties as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. A good soldier doesn't entangle himself with the affairs of life, but they keep their minds on their calling and their purpose. And it's that mantra in the military, we leave no soldier behind. In this Christian warfare of faith, we've got some souls that we can't leave behind in 2020. Some are wounded. That's the first class. They're wounded. They just can't keep up. They fall behind. Their lives, their marriages, their families, their livelihoods, they've been crushed. Their souls are in despair. They are wounded. It was in the wilderness journey from Egypt to Canaan. We hear that Judah went up first. We love to preach that. Judah, praise, goes up first. First tribe to break the encampment, first to follow after the cloud. Who came last, though? It was the tribe of Dan. And their job was to assist stragglers. Those who couldn't keep up, they would help them along the way. Like the marshals in a marathon, they're there to make sure the runners don't fall out by the wayside without notice, care, and attention. Who do you know that is wounded or struggling? Who is in your sphere of influence that is falling behind? Ernesto and Susan and Yolanda, we all have those people in our lives. They may look okay, but God's nudging your heart. Don't leave anybody behind in 2020. Some are not just wounded. Some have deserted. They've just gone AWOL. They'd once been up their ears in involvement in church and ministry, but now they're just nowhere to be found. The excuses are numerous. The rationales are plenteous. But the painful truth is they've just simply checked out. As Paul mournfully said, Demas hath forsaken me, having loved this present world. That's what Paul said. Some may have deserted because they thought, well, we're all just going to die, and I might as well get some joy from this miserable existence. Some check out because of overcommitments, so there's no time left for them in the body of Christ for doing and being and becoming all they can be. Please stop a moment. Do you know someone like that? Do you know someone out there like that? Can I get painfully personal? Are you suffering from desertion? Have you walked away? Have you abandoned? I wish someone would reach out. I wish someone would take someone by the hand and say, let's walk together. I wish someone would say, there's your shield of faith. Let me help you lift it up again. Here's your sword of truth. Let's get a grip on that sword again. Jesus is coming soon, folks, and we can't leave anyone behind in 2020. A third type of person we need to reach out to in this battlefield of 2020 are prisoners of war. They waded into the fight. They didn't have the support they needed. They're now feeling so isolated, encircled, chained, imprisoned, held captive. They may have fallen back into some old habits and old addictions, old bondages. Being a child of God in 2020 has not been the easiest of things. We've stood for truth and righteousness, and those stances have forced more of the fair weather soldiers to either go missing in action or they're being rounded up by the droves, by the enemy. There's so many of these souls, so many of these soldiers. They bit off more than they can chew, and now the enemy has them in a stronghold. What can you and I do for these people in the last 2 weeks of the year? Pray for them, sure. Absolutely. Pray that they will be free in the power of the Spirit and walk free and live free. We can also arrange for a jailbreak. When Abraham heard that the forces of evil had taken his nephew Lot and his family, Abraham raised up his own army, fought and delivered Lot and his family. We need groups of people who would join with us to help people through this time. I heard a song several years ago by Casting Crowns, and just love the lyrics of the song. Listen to the lyrics of this song. is crowded in worship today as she slips in trying to fade into the faces. The girls' teasing laughter is carrying farther than they know, farther than they know. A traveler is far away from home. He sheds his coat and quietly sinks into the back row. The weight of their judgmental glances tells him that his chances are better out on the road. But if we are the body, why aren't his arms reaching? Why aren't his hands healing? Why aren't his words teaching? If we are the body, why aren't his feet going? Why is his love not showing them that there is a way? Oh, folks, there's a way. There's a way. You are the way. You're the body of Christ. To reach out and to encourage someone at this time, 2 weeks close to the end of the year. There was an interesting sociological study asking 50 people over age of 95, one question. If you could live life over again, what would you do differently? One of the top 3 answers that emerged and dominated the results of the study was, if I had it to do all over again, I would risk more. The problem for most of us is we're more afraid of failure than we are of regret. And too often, by the time we wake up to what could be, it's too late. The next time you're tempted to play it safe, would you ask yourself this question: what would I do today if I were going to be really brave? Let's be brave today. God help us. God be with us. As yesterday, I'm going to ask you to build everyone's prayer list out to the side, maybe some initials, phrase your needs how you feel. But I want to tell you this story in closing. 2 childhood buddies who went through school together, college, even joined the armed services together. War broke out and they were fighting in the same unit. One night they were ambushed, bullets flying all over the place. And out of the darkness came his friend's voice. "Harry, please come help me." Harry immediately recognized that's the voice of my childhood buddy, Bill. He asked the captain if he could go to Bill. The captain said, "No, I can't let you go. I'm already short-handed and I can't afford to lose another person. But besides the way Bill sounds, he's not going to make it." Harry kept quiet. And again, the voice came out, Harry, please come and help me." Harry said quietly, because the captain had refused earlier. But again and again, that voice cried out. Harry couldn't contain himself any longer. And so he told his captain, he said, "Captain, that's my childhood buddy. And I know I shouldn't go, but I have to go and help." The captain reluctantly let him go, and Harry crawled through the darkness and got to his friend Bill, drug him back to the trench. Bill didn't make it. He died. When the captain saw that Bill was dead, he got angry and he shouted at Harry, "Didn't I tell you he wasn't going to make it? He's dead. You could have been killed. This was a mistake." And Harry replied, "Captain, I did the right thing, because when I reached Bill, he was still alive. And his last words were, 'Harry, I knew you would come. I knew you would come.'" I wonder who is counting on me and you out there. Who needs us in these closing, waning weeks of 2020? Who needs an encouraging word from me and you? Who needs an invitation to reunite with a family, a small group, a group of friends, church family? I believe even sharing this devotion with others. There may be somebody out there that would say, that's a group I feel like I'm safe with. I feel like I can be vulnerable with. I believe I can share my needs with, and they care for me. And I'm telling you, we do care. We do care. Thank you. Thank you. I don't want to leave anybody behind in 2020. None of your family members, none of your loved ones. I don't want to leave anybody behind. I want to see them back in the fold going forward in 2021. I'm really torn up today. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this with others and being a part of this today. Leave your prayer requests out to the side, and let's circle back and pray one for another. May God be with you the rest of the day.
Thank you for listening to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Join us next time for another inspiring devotion. To support this ministry, please visit firstchurch.com/give.